Olivia Grant parked her old Ford pickup truck in the employee lot behind Apex Innovations, the small automotive engineering company where she had worked for the past 8 years. The truck had belonged to her father, and though it had seen better days, she couldn't bring herself to replace it. Like many things in her life, it was modest but reliable. The morning air was cool as she walked toward the entrance, her worn leather messenger bag slung across her shoulder. Inside that bag were sketches and calculations that could change the future of transportation, though only a handful of people in the world knew about them. Olivia was 34 years old, with brown hair usually tied back in a practical ponytail, and hands that showed the calluses of someone who built things. She had grown up watching her father come home tired but proud from the assembly line at Detroit's biggest car factory. When other little girls had played with dolls, Olivia had been in the garage learning how engines worked. "Morning, Susan," Olivia said to the receptionist as she walked through the front office. "Hey, Olivia, the boss wants to see you. Said to go straight to his office when you got in." Olivia felt a twinge of worry. Jack Miller, the owner of Apex Innovations, was a good boss, but being called to his office first thing was unusual. She wondered if it had anything to do with her secret project, the one she worked on after hours and on weekends. Only Jack and her small team knew about the revolutionary hybrid engine design she had been perfecting for the past 3 years. She knocked on Jack's door. "Come in," he called. Jack was standing by the window holding a letter. He was in his 60s, with gray hair and kind eyes that had seen the automotive industry change over decades. "You wanted to see me?" Olivia asked. "Close the door, please," Jack said, smiling. "I've got some news." Once the door was shut, Jack handed her the letter. It was printed on expensive paper with a glossy Formula One logo at the top. "What's this?" she asked. "Read it," Jack said, barely containing his excitement. The letter was an invitation for Apex Innovations to send a representative to the Monaco Grand Prix as part of a special program highlighting innovative small companies in the automotive sector. The invitation included access to all race events, technical meetings, and exclusive social gatherings with team owners and industry leaders. "I don't understand," Olivia said, looking up from the letter. "Why would they invite us?" Jack sat on the edge of his desk. "Remember that article about your work on electric motor efficiency that was published in Engineering Today last month? Apparently someone important read it. This could be huge for us, Olivia. Monaco is where deals get made, where the future of racing and eventually everyday cars gets decided." "But," Olivia hesitated, handing the letter back. "Surely you should go. Or maybe Rob from sales?" Jack shook his head. "They specifically asked for the engineer behind the motor design. That's you. Besides, I'm too old to be jet-setting around Europe, and Rob wouldn't understand half the technical conversations." The thought of attending the world's most prestigious racing event made Olivia's stomach tighten. She had never even left the country before. Her world was here, in the workshop, at her small apartment, visiting her mom on Sundays for dinner. "Jack, those events are full of billionaires and celebrities. I wouldn't fit in. I don't even own the right clothes for something like that." "Since when do you care about fitting in?" Jack asked with a gentle smile. "You were the only woman in most of your engineering classes, weren't you? Did that stop you?" Olivia looked down at her practical work boots and jeans. "This is different." "Yes, it's different. It's better. Because now you've got years of experience and talent to back you up." Jack put a hand on her shoulder. "The invitation covers all the travel expenses. We just need to get you there. This is a chance to put Apex on the map, Olivia. And maybe," he paused, lowering his voice even though they were alone, "maybe it's a chance to find partners for that special project of yours." The special project was what they called Olivia's design for a revolutionary hybrid engine system. It combined hydrogen fuel cell technology with advanced electric motors in a way that no one had successfully achieved before. On paper, it promised power that could rival the fastest gasoline engines, while producing almost zero emissions. The problem was that building a working prototype would cost millions, money that a small company like Apex didn't have. "I'd be terrified," Olivia admitted. "Good," Jack said. "That means you understand how important this is." For the rest of the day, Olivia tried to focus on her regular work, but her mind kept drifting to Monaco, the legendary circuit with its harbor and tunnel, the luxury and glamour that seemed to belong to another world entirely. By evening, when most employees had gone home, she found herself in the company's small break room with Betty Moore, her best friend and the only other female engineer at Apex. "You have to go," Betty insisted after Olivia told her about the invitation. "This is the opportunity of a lifetime." "I've seen those events on TV, Betty. The women there are all models and socialites in designer dresses. I'd stick out like a truck mechanic at a fashion show." Betty took a sip of her coffee. "So what? You're not going there to win a beauty contest. You're going because you're brilliant at what you do." Olivia sighed. "What would I even say to those people? They live in a completely different reality. You talk about what you know, cars, engines, the future of automotive technology. That's why they're inviting you." Betty leaned forward. "And don't forget, you know things that even the big racing teams don't know yet. Your hybrid system could change everything." Later that night, Olivia sat at her kitchen table, the invitation propped against a coffee mug. Her small apartment was neat but sparse. Most of her money went toward paying off student loans and helping her mother with bills. On her laptop, she pulled up images of Monaco and the Grand Prix. The contrast between that world and hers couldn't be more stark. She scrolled through photos of previous events, celebrities on yachts, champagne flowing, helicopter arrivals, and million-dollar watches gleaming in the Mediterranean sun. Then she opened a different folder on her computer, one labeled Phoenix Project. Inside were thousands of files representing years of work on her hybrid engine design. Simulations showed performance that could revolutionize not just racing, but all transportation. In theory, a car built around her system could outperform vehicles costing 10 times as much while helping save the planet. Theory was one thing, but the racing world only respected results. Her phone rang. It was her mother. "Hey, Mom." "Jack called me," her mother said without preamble. "He told me about Monaco." Olivia smiled. Of course Jack would call her mom. He'd known her family for years. "I'm not sure if I'm going," Olivia said. "Your father would have wanted you to go," her mother said quietly. Olivia's father had passed, away 5 years ago. He had been her biggest supporter, never doubting that his daughter could succeed in a male-dominated field. "He would have been terrified for me," Olivia countered. "Yes," her mother agreed. "And then he would have helped you pack." After they hung up, Olivia walked to her small balcony and looked out at the city lights. Detroit had been the heart of America's auto industry for generations. Now much of that industry was struggling, caught between the past and a future that demanded innovation. She thought about all the engineers who had taken risks throughout automotive history, people who had been laughed at until their ideas changed everything. She thought about her father, who had believed in her even when others didn't. The next morning, Olivia walked into Jack's office before he'd even finished his first cup of coffee. "I'll go," she said simply. Jack broke into a wide smile. "I knew you would. But I have one condition," Olivia added. "While I'm making connections in Monaco, I want the team here to start building a prototype of the Phoenix. Just the basic framework and systems. If I can generate interest there, we need to be ready to move quickly," Jack whistled. "That's a big financial risk without committed investors." "I know," Olivia said, "but sometimes you have to believe in something before anyone else does." 2 weeks later, Olivia stood in her bedroom, staring at her open suitcase. The flight to Nice, France, the nearest airport to Monaco, was leaving in the morning. Despite Betty's help with shopping, her wardrobe for the trip still felt inadequate. How could it not, when she would be mingling with people who wore watches that cost more than her annual salary? She picked up a framed photo from her nightstand, a picture of her father standing proudly next to the first car she had ever helped repair, a beat-up Chevrolet that they had restored together when she was 16. She carefully wrapped the frame in a sweater and placed it in her suitcase. Whatever happened in Monaco, she would remember who she was and where she came from. The daughter of a factory worker was about to enter the playground of the ultra-wealthy, with nothing but her intelligence and a dream that could change everything. What the racing elite didn't know was that they had invited a quiet revolution into their midst, and Olivia Grant, despite her fears, was ready to start it. Olivia's first view of Monaco took her breath away. From the window of the taxi that carried her from Nice airport, she saw the small country rising from the Mediterranean Sea like something from a fairy tale. Tall buildings clung to steep hillsides. Luxury yachts filled the harbor, and everywhere there were signs of wealth that Olivia could barely imagine. The taxi driver, noticing her wide eyes, smiled in the rearview mirror. "First time in Monaco, miss?" "That obvious, huh?" Olivia replied, still staring out the window. "Everyone looks like that their first time," he said kindly. "It's a different world." Different was an understatement. Back in Detroit, Olivia's life was all about work, visiting her mother on weekends and spending late nights in the workshop. Here, even the air felt expensive. Her hotel, paid for by the Formula One organizers, was more luxurious than any place she had ever stayed. The lobby gleamed with marble and gold. Well-dressed people moved about with a confidence that came from never having to worry about money. Olivia, in her simple travel clothes, felt painfully out of place. At the reception desk, she gave her name to a polite young man in a perfectly fitted uniform. "Ah, Ms. Grant, welcome," he said. "You're here for the Grand Prix technical program?" Olivia nodded, wondering how he knew. "We have several guests attending the same event," he explained, as if reading her thoughts. "Your welcome package is in your room, and there's a reception for program participants this evening at 8 o'clock in the Golden Ballroom." In her room, Olivia found a large envelope containing her event passes, schedules, and a personal invitation to the evening's reception. The note emphasized that this was an important networking opportunity with team owners, drivers, and industry executives. The reception was only 4 hours away. Olivia unpacked her carefully chosen outfit, a simple black dress that Betty had insisted was perfect for any occasion, and laid it on the bed. Then she opened her laptop and sent a quick email to her team back at Apex. "Arrived safely. Monaco is unreal. First event tonight. How's progress on the prototype?" Frank, her lead technician, replied almost immediately. "Glad you made it. We've started on the frame. Jack approved the budget for the basic components this morning. Show those racing snobs what real innovation looks like. Good luck tonight." As the hour of the reception approached, Olivia's stomach tightened with anxiety. She wasn't good at small talk in the best of circumstances. How was she supposed to network with people who probably spent more on a dinner than she earned in a week? She put on her dress, applied light makeup, and pulled her hair back in a neat style that she hoped looked professional. The woman in the mirror looked respectable, if not glamorous. It would have to do. The Golden Ballroom was on the hotel's top floor, with glass walls offering a stunning view of the harbor and the famous Monaco circuit being prepared for the weekend's race. When Olivia stepped through the doors, the room was already half full of people in expensive clothes, holding champagne flutes and laughing at private jokes. A waiter offered her a glass of champagne, which she accepted gratefully. The cool drink gave her something to hold as she tried to figure out what to do next. Everyone seemed to know each other already, forming tight circles that were hard to join. Olivia spotted a display of Formula One car models and made her way toward it, relieved to have something familiar to look at. She was studying the detailed engine of a miniature race car when a voice spoke from behind her. "Beautiful machines, aren't they?" She turned to see an older man with kind eyes and silver hair. His accent was British, and something about him seemed familiar. "They're amazing," Olivia agreed. "The engineering is incredible." "You sound like you know something about it," the man said, offering his hand. "I'm Peter Walsh." As Olivia shook his hand, she suddenly realized why he looked familiar. Peter Walsh was a Formula One legend, a champion driver from the 1980s who now owned one of the smaller teams. "I'm Olivia Grant," she said, trying to keep her voice steady. "I'm an engineer with Apex Innovations in Detroit." "Ah, one of the technical program participants. Welcome." His smile seemed genuine. "What's your specialty, Olivia?" "Alternative power systems," she said. "Specifically hybrid engines combining hydrogen fuel cells with electric motors." Peter's eyebrows rose with interest. Really? I'd love to hear more about that. The sport is moving toward more sustainable technologies, even if some of the old guard resist it. For the next 10 minutes, Olivia found herself in a technical conversation that made her forget her nervousness. Peter asked intelligent questions that showed he truly understood engineering, not just racing. Their conversation was interrupted when a group of people approached. At their center was a tall man with perfectly styled hair and a tan that looked too even to be natural. He wore a white dinner jacket that probably cost more than Olivia's car. "Peter, there you are," the man said, clapping Peter on the shoulder. "We're having a debate about next year's regulations and need your opinion." Peter nodded politely. "Greg Harrison, may I introduce Olivia Grant? She's an engineer from Detroit working on some fascinating hybrid technology." Greg barely glanced at Olivia before turning back to Peter. "Hybrids, how quaint. Listen, Peter, come join us at my table. I've got the Lange-Weber team there, and they're considering my offer of sponsorship." "I'll be along shortly," Peter said. "I'm enjoying this conversation." Greg finally turned his full attention to Olivia, looking her up and down in a way that made her skin crawl. "Where did you say you were from again?" "Apex Innovations in Detroit," Olivia replied, trying to keep her voice professional. "Never heard of it," Greg said dismissively. "A small shop, I assume, working on, what was it, hybrid engines?" He chuckled as if she'd told a joke. "We're developing technologies that could change the future of racing," Olivia said, feeling heat rise to her cheeks. Greg laughed louder this time, drawing the attention of others nearby. "My dear, Formula One is the pinnacle of racing technology. If there were revolutionary changes to be made, they would come from the major teams with $100 million budgets, not from, what did you call it, Apex? Innovation can come from anywhere," Olivia said, her voice firmer now. "How charming," said a woman who had joined their circle. She was tall and blonde, wearing a red dress that hugged her perfect figure. "Greg, darling, who's your interesting friend?" "Patricia Wells." "Pete, I'm sorry, I've already forgotten your name," Greg said with a smirk. "Olivia Grant," Peter supplied, his expression hardening. "Olivia thinks her little company in Detroit is going to revolutionize racing with hybrid engines," Greg explained to Patricia, his voice dripping with mockery. Patricia's laugh was like glass breaking. "Oh, that's precious. Honey, the only hybrids that matter in Monaco are the ones the celebrities drive to show how much they care about the environment before boarding their private jets." Several people around them laughed. Olivia felt her face burning with humiliation. "I should," Olivia began, looking for a way to escape. "Yes, you probably should," Patricia agreed with fake sweetness. "The technical discussions are happening. Over there with the other, what shall we call them, Greg, the support staff?" More laughter followed. Olivia clutched her champagne glass so tightly she feared it might break. Peter stepped forward. "That's enough, Patricia. Ms. Grant is here as an invited guest, just like everyone else." "Of course she is," Patricia said, smiling coldly. "We're all about diversity these days, aren't we? Even for those who clearly don't belong." Olivia placed her barely touched champagne on a nearby table. "Thank you for the conversation, Mr. Walsh. I think I'll explore the rest of the reception." She walked away with as much dignity as she could manage, the sound of Greg and Patricia's laughter following her. She found a quiet corner near the windows, trying to compose herself. The city lights blurred as tears threatened to fall, but she blinked them back fiercely. Her phone buzzed in her small handbag. It was a text from Betty. "How's it going? Meeting any racing bigwigs?" Olivia stared at the message, unsure how to respond. She didn't want to admit how badly the evening was going. As she was deciding what to write, someone spoke beside her. "Don't let Harrison and his crowd get to you. They treat everyone that way." Olivia looked up to see a woman about her age with dark hair cut in a stylish bob. She wore a simple but elegant pantsuit and offered Olivia a genuine smile. "I'm Laura Chen, Technical Director for Walsh Racing," she said, extending her hand. "Olivia Grant," Olivia replied, shaking Laura's hand. "You work for Peter Walsh?" Laura nodded. "For 5 years now. Peter mentioned your work sounds interesting. He has a good eye for talent and innovation. That's kind of him, but I'm starting to think coming here was a mistake, Olivia admitted. I clearly don't belong in this world. Laura's smile turned sympathetic. Neither did I when I started. This environment can be brutal, especially to outsiders. But if your ideas are good, that's what matters in the end. Olivia took a deep breath. My ideas are good. I know they are. But no one here will take them seriously. Then show them, Laura said simply. That's the only language they truly understand. Results. As Laura spoke, Olivia's phone buzzed again with a new email from Frank. Engine assembly has begun. We're making it real, boss. Looking from the email to the glittering crowd that had mocked her, Olivia felt something shift inside her. Olivia woke early the next morning, her mind already racing with ideas. The sun was just rising over Monaco, painting the Mediterranean Sea with golden light. She sat at the small desk in her hotel room and opened her laptop, determined to make a new plan. The technical program she was part of included tours of the pit areas, meetings with racing engineers, and access to certain parts of the track before the big race. It was a wonderful opportunity to learn, but Olivia now wanted more than just knowledge. She wanted to prove herself. She typed a quick email to her team back in Detroit. Need to accelerate our timeline. Can we have the Phoenix ready for a demonstration within 2 weeks? I know it's asking a lot, but I have a plan. While waiting for a response, Olivia checked the event schedule. There was a technical presentation that morning where representatives from different teams would discuss innovations in racing technology. After that was a private exhibition announcement, something called the Monaco Innovation Challenge that hadn't been on her original schedule. Her phone rang. It was Frank calling from Detroit, which meant he was working very late. Got your email, he said without greeting. 2 weeks is crazy, boss. We've barely started assembling the framework. I know it's a lot to ask, Olivia said, pacing her small hotel room. But something happened here, Frank. These people think small companies like ours don't matter. They laughed at the idea that we could create anything important. Frank was quiet for a moment. So this is personal now? Olivia stopped pacing. No. Yes, maybe a little. But it's also an opportunity. There's an event called the Monaco Innovation Challenge that was just announced. I think it might be a chance to showcase the Phoenix. What kind of event? Frank asked, his voice skeptical. I don't know yet. I'm going to find out today. But if it's what I think it is, we need to be ready. Frank sighed heavily. I'll talk to the team. We'll need to work around the clock, and we'll need more help. And money. I'll call Jack as soon as we hang up, Olivia promised. Whatever resources you need, we'll find them. After ending the call, Olivia dialed Jack's number, rehearsing in her mind how to convince him to increase the budget for a project that was already stretching their small company's resources. To her surprise, Jack agreed almost immediately. If you think this is our shot, we take it, he said firmly. I've been saving an emergency fund for years, waiting for the right moment. This is it. With Jack's support secured, Olivia headed down to the technical presentation with renewed energy. The meeting was held in a conference room at the track, with about 50 people in attendance. Most were men in team uniforms or expensive casual clothes. Olivia took a seat near the back, pulling out a notebook to take notes. The presentations were fascinating. Cutting-edge aerodynamics, new materials for better safety, advanced fuel systems that improved efficiency. Olivia scribbled notes rapidly, seeing connections to her own work with the Phoenix. But she also noticed that while there was talk about hybrid technology, no one was discussing anything close to her hydrogen electric system. During a coffee break, she spotted Peter Walsh chatting with a young man in a racing team uniform. Remembering his kindness from the night before, she gathered her courage and approached them. Mr. Walsh, she said. Good morning. Peter turned with a warm smile. Olivia, glad to see you again. Please call me Peter. This is Sam Roberts, one of my team engineers. They shook hands and Sam nodded respectfully. Peter mentioned your work in hybrid systems. Sounds interesting. Thank you. Olivia said, then hesitated before asking, I noticed there's something called the Monaco Innovation Challenge on the schedule. Do either of you know what that is? Peter and Sam exchanged glances. It's a new event this year, Peter explained. After the main race, there's going to be a special exhibition where selected companies can demonstrate new automotive technologies on parts of the actual F1 track. Olivia's heart beat faster. This was exactly the opportunity she had been hoping for. How does one get selected? She asked, trying to keep her voice casual. Sam shrugged. It's invitation only. Mostly big companies showing off concept cars and such. The selection committee is headed by Richard Bennett. Who's Richard Bennett? Olivia asked. The older gentleman over there, Peter said, nodding toward a distinguished man with silver hair speaking to a group near the coffee station. He runs the technical side of F1. Very traditional in his thinking, but fair. Olivia thanked them and, after a deep breath to steady herself, walked over to where Richard Bennett stood. She waited patiently until there was a pause in his conversation. Excuse me, Mr. Bennett? My name is Olivia Grant from Apex Innovations. I'd like to speak with you about the Innovation Challenge if you have a moment. Richard looked down at her with mild surprise. He was tall, with the confident posture of someone used to authority. Apex Innovations? I'm not familiar with the company, he said, not unkindly. We're a small engineering firm from Detroit specializing in alternative power systems, Olivia explained. I believe our technology would be perfect for your innovation challenge. Richard's eyebrows rose slightly. The challenge participants were selected months ago, Ms. Grant. All the slots are filled with established companies that have proven track records in automotive innovation. I understand, Olivia said, not backing down. But our hybrid hydrogen electric system is unlike anything those companies are developing. It could change the future of racing. Before Richard could respond, a familiar voice cut in from behind. Olivia, is this little lady bothering you, Richard? Greg Harrison had appeared, champagne glass in hand despite the early hour. She was telling me last night how her garage-built engines are going to revolutionize Formula One. His tone made it clear he found the idea laughable. Richard looked uncomfortable. We were just discussing the innovation challenge, Greg. Oh, don't tell me she's trying to get into that too. Greg laughed. The challenge is for serious technology companies, not hobbyists playing with engines. Olivia felt her face flush with anger, but she kept her voice steady. Mr. Bennett, all I'm asking for is a chance to demonstrate what our system can do. If it doesn't impress you, you'll never hear from me again. Richard studied her for a moment. What exactly are you proposing to show? A fully functional supercar built around our hybrid hydrogen electric system, Olivia said confidently, praying that her team could deliver on what she was promising. It produces more power than conventional engines while creating almost zero emissions. Impossible, Greg scoffed. If that technology existed, the major manufacturers would already be using it. Sometimes innovation comes from unexpected places, Olivia countered, looking directly at Richard rather than acknowledging Greg. Richard seemed thoughtful. The challenge lineup is indeed full, Ms. Grant. However, he paused, seeming to make a decision. I could perhaps arrange for a preliminary demonstration the day before. If and only if your vehicle proves genuinely innovative, we might consider adding an exception. Greg looked shocked. Richard, you can't be serious. We have standards for these events. And I make the final decisions about those standards, Richard said firmly. Innovation should be judged on merit, not the size of the company behind it. He turned back to Olivia. 2 conditions, Ms. Grant. First, your vehicle must pass all our safety inspections. Second, you need a sponsor. Someone already established in F1 who will vouch for you. Olivia's mind raced. The first condition wouldn't be a problem. They had designed the Phoenix with safety as a priority. But a sponsor? I'll sponsor her, came a voice from nearby. Peter Walsh had been listening to the conversation. I've heard enough about her ideas to believe they deserve a fair hearing. Richard nodded. Very well. Have your vehicle here for inspection 3 days before the main race. If it passes, you'll get your demonstration. As Richard walked away, Greg stepped closer to Olivia, his voice low and threatening. You're making a fool of yourself. When your little science project fails to show up or falls apart on the track, everyone will remember. Then I guess I'll just have to make sure that doesn't happen, Olivia replied, meeting his gaze steadily. Greg's face darkened. You don't belong here. This is a world built on power, money, and connections, none of which you have. Maybe it's time for that world to change, Olivia said. As Greg stormed off, Peter approached with an amused expression. You've made an enemy there. Greg Harrison doesn't like being challenged, especially by newcomers. Thank you for stepping in, Olivia said sincerely. I don't know why you'd take that risk for someone you barely know. Peter smiled. Let's just say, I've been in this sport long enough to recognize when someone might shake things up in a good way. The old guard needs challenging once in a while. He grew more serious. But now you have to deliver. Can your team really have a working vehicle ready in time? Olivia took a deep breath. They'll have to. We've been developing this technology for years. Now we just need to prove it works. Back in her hotel room that evening, Olivia had a video call with her entire team in Detroit. Their faces showed a mixture of excitement and anxiety as she explained the situation. 2 weeks to finish a working prototype that can compete with supercars? Frank shook his head. It's nearly impossible. I know, Olivia admitted. The next 12 days passed in a blur for Olivia. Each morning she attended technical sessions and networking events, gathering valuable information and making connections with the few people in the Formula One world who didn't immediately dismiss her. Each night she spent hours on video calls with her team in Detroit, solving problems and making critical decisions about the Phoenix. The team was working around the clock. Jack had converted the main workshop into a temporary living space, so the engineers and technicians could work in shifts without wasting time commuting. Frank sent daily progress reports with photos and videos of the Phoenix taking shape. What they were attempting was nearly impossible. Building a working supercar usually took years, not days. But they had two advantages. They had already designed and tested most of the components in computer simulations, and they weren't trying to make a perfect production vehicle, just a working prototype that could demonstrate the power of their technology. 3 days before the main Formula One race, Olivia stood in the early morning light at the Monaco harbor, watching as a special transport ship approached the dock. Her heart pounded as the ship's crew prepared to unload its precious cargo. The Phoenix had arrived. The car was covered with a protective tarp as it was carefully lifted onto the dock by a crane. Olivia's hands trembled slightly as she approached. Frank had sent her photos, but this would be her first time seeing the actual vehicle. Ms. Grant, a dock worker called. You need to sign for this. After completing the paperwork, Olivia was finally alone with the covered car. She took a deep breath and pulled back the tarp. The Phoenix was beautiful in a way that was different from traditional supercars. Where most high-performance vehicles were flashy and aggressive, the Phoenix had a sleek, elegant shape that hinted at its revolutionary nature. Its silver-gray body gleamed in the morning sun, with subtle blue accents that suggested its alternative power source. The bodywork was smooth and aerodynamic, designed to cut through the air with minimal resistance. Olivia ran her hand along the cool metal surface, hardly able to believe that her team had turned her designs into reality. Inside the car was the heart of the innovation, the hybrid hydrogen-electric system that could potentially change the future of transportation. So this is the famous Phoenix. Olivia turned to see Laura Chen, the technical director from Peter Walsh's team, walking toward her. It just arrived, Olivia said, unable to keep the pride from her voice. Laura walked slowly around the car, her experienced eyes taking in every detail. The design is unusual. Most supercars try to look aggressive and powerful. We focused on aerodynamics and efficiency, Olivia explained. The shape reduces drag by 22% compared to conventional supercars. Laura nodded appreciatively. Peter sent me to help you get through the inspection process. It can be challenging for newcomers. Thank you, Olivia said sincerely. I could definitely use the help. They arranged for the Phoenix to be transported to the inspection area near the track. As the car was being loaded onto a special trailer, Olivia's phone rang. It was Frank calling from Detroit. It's there? He asked without preamble. Yes, and it's incredible, Olivia replied. You and the team have performed a miracle. A miracle, with some rough edges, Frank cautioned. We had to make compromises to finish in time. The control systems aren't as refined as we planned, and the power management could be more efficient. Will it work? Olivia asked, that being the only question that really mattered. It will work, Frank assured her. But be gentle with it at first. The systems need time to calibrate. And remember, don't activate full power mode until everything else is running smoothly, Olivia finished. They had discussed this many times over the past 2 weeks. Exactly. In theory, the Phoenix can outperform any car on that track. But theory and reality don't always match up. At the inspection area, a team of technical officials was waiting. Olivia recognized Richard Bennett standing with a clipboard looking serious. Next to him, to Olivia's dismay, was Greg Harrison, smirking as the Phoenix was unloaded from the trailer. Ms. Grant, Richard greeted her formally. I see your vehicle has arrived. Mr. Harrison has asked to observe the inspection as a interested party. Greg's smile widened. I wouldn't miss this for the world. Olivia steeled herself. The Phoenix is ready for inspection, Mr. Bennett. The inspection was grueling. For 4 hours, the officials examined every aspect of the car, its structural integrity, safety systems, power components, and especially the revolutionary engine system. They asked Olivia hundreds of technical questions, some of which seemed designed to confuse or trip her up. Throughout the process, Greg made small comments just loud enough for Olivia to hear. Such amateur workmanship. Looks like it was built in someone's garage. I give it 10 minutes on the track before something breaks. Laura stayed by Olivia's side, occasionally whispering advice or explanations about the inspection procedures. Her presence helped Olivia stay calm and focused. Finally, Richard Bennett called the inspection team together for a private discussion. Olivia waited anxiously, knowing that if the Phoenix failed inspection, her chance to prove herself would be over before it began. After what seemed like hours, Richard approached her with a neutral expression. Ms. Grant, your vehicle has several unconventional features. Olivia's heart sank, but she kept her face composed. However, Richard continued, it meets our safety requirements. The Phoenix is approved for the demonstration tomorrow morning. Relief washed over Olivia. Thank you, Mr. Bennett. Greg stepped forward, his face dark with anger. Richard, you can't be serious. That thing is a cobbled-together experiment, not a proper vehicle. The inspection team has made its decision, Greg, Richard said firmly. The Phoenix has passed. Ms. Grant will have her demonstration. Greg glared at Olivia. This isn't over. He turned and stalked away. Laura smiled at Olivia. Congratulations. Not many first-time entrants make it through inspection without modifications. Thanks to your help, Olivia said gratefully. Now comes the hard part, Laura cautioned. The demonstration. What exactly are you planning to show them? Olivia looked at the Phoenix gleaming under the inspection area lights. The future. That evening, Olivia sat alone in the garage area where the Phoenix was stored, going through final checks. The technical specifications on her laptop showed everything functioning normally, but she couldn't shake her nervousness about the next day. A soft knock on the garage door interrupted her thoughts. She looked up to see Peter Walsh entering. I thought I might find you here, he said, pulling up a stool next to her. How are you feeling? Terrified, Olivia admitted, but also excited. Tomorrow either makes or breaks everything we've worked for. Peter nodded understandingly. I felt the same way before my first race. The night before, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about everything that could go wrong. Did anything go wrong? Olivia asked. Everything, Peter laughed. It rained unexpectedly. My main competitor tried to force me off the track. I had mechanical problems halfway through. but I still finished the race." His expression grew serious. "Sometimes finishing, against the odds, is more important than winning easily. I just want the Phoenix to work the way it's supposed to," Olivia said, looking at the car. "To show what's possible." "It will," Peter assured her. "Laura told me how impressed the inspection team was with your design. They just couldn't show it because Greg was watching." "Why does he hate me so much? He doesn't even know me." Peter sighed. "Greg represents the old way of thinking in racing. Big money, big teams, established names. People like you, innovators from outside the system, threaten that order." As they talked, Olivia's phone chimed with a message. It was from Frank. "Final diagnostic shows all systems go. The whole team is watching tomorrow. Make them remember the name Phoenix." The next morning dawned clear and perfect. The demonstration was scheduled for 9:00 a.m., before the track would be prepared for the main race qualifying sessions later in the day. Olivia arrived at the garage at 6 a.m., unable to sleep any longer. To her surprise, a small crowd had already gathered outside the garage area. Word had spread about the unusual car and its creator from Detroit. Some were curious engineers from other teams. Others were media looking for an interesting story before the main race. A few were simply fans intrigued by something different. Olivia tried to ignore them as she made her final preparations. She checked the Phoenix's systems one last time, ran through the demonstration plan in her head, and finally put on the simple racing suit that her team had sent along with the car. It wasn't the branded, sponsor-covered suit that professional drivers wore, but it was fireproof and would keep her safe. At 8:30, Laura arrived to escort her to the starting area. "There's quite a crowd gathering," Laura said as they walked. "Word has spread that something interesting is happening this morning." Olivia nodded, too nervous to speak much. As they approached the track, she saw that Laura wasn't exaggerating. The stands near the demonstration area were filling with people, team members, media, and even some early arriving fans. Near the starting line, Richard Bennett was speaking with several officials. He nodded formally to Olivia as she approached. "Ms. Grant, are you ready for your demonstration?" "Yes, sir," Olivia replied, hoping she sounded more confident than she felt. Olivia's hands gripped the steering wheel of the Phoenix as she waited at the starting line. The famous Monaco track stretched before her, the same track where legendary racing champions had made history. The morning sun glinted off the sleek curves of her silver-gray creation. In the stands and along the track edges, people watched with curiosity, many whispering and pointing at the unusual car. "Remember what Frank said," Olivia whispered to herself. "Start gentle. Let the systems calibrate." She pressed the accelerator, slowly. The Phoenix moved forward with surprising smoothness, building speed in a way that felt different from regular cars. There was no roar of an engine, just a rising hum as the hybrid hydrogen-electric system powered the wheels with increasing force. Olivia guided the Phoenix through the first turn, feeling how the car responded to her commands. It handled beautifully, its low center of gravity and perfect weight distribution, making it seem like it was gliding on rails rather than tires. She completed the first lap at a moderate speed, giving the systems time to adjust and allowing herself to get comfortable with the track. In the viewing area, Greg Harrison watched with a smirk on his face. "Not very impressive, is it?" he said loudly to those around him. "My golf cart goes faster than that." Patricia Wells laughed along with Greg's friends, but some of the engineers and technical experts were watching with more serious expressions. They had noticed something unusual about how the Phoenix moved, a smoothness and precision that hinted at innovative technology beneath its surface. As Olivia began her second lap, she increased the speed. The Phoenix responded instantly, accelerating with a force that pushed her back in her seat. The famous tunnel section of the track approached, a dark passage that suddenly opened into bright sunlight near the harbor. It was one of the most challenging parts of the Monaco circuit. Olivia took a deep breath and pushed the car harder. The Phoenix shot through the tunnel at a speed that would have matched many of the Formula One cars, its handling perfectly stable, even as the G-forces increased. When she emerged from the tunnel into the sunlight, she could see people in the stands, standing up, their attention now fully captured by the silver car that moved with such unexpected speed and grace. In the technical area, Richard Bennett was looking at a tablet showing the Phoenix's telemetry data, its speed, power usage, and other vital statistics being transmitted in real time. "Remarkable," he murmured. "The efficiency readings are unlike anything I've seen." Peter Walsh stood beside him, a satisfied smile on his face. "And she hasn't even shown what it can really do yet." As Olivia completed the second lap, she felt confident enough to test more of the Phoenix's capabilities. She activated the second-stage power system, a feature that adjusted the hydrogen fuel mixture to produce even more electricity for the motors. The effect was immediate. The Phoenix leaped forward with such acceleration that Olivia had to concentrate fully on controlling it. The car reached speeds that matched the fastest production supercars in the world, but with a level of control and stability that those gas-powered monsters couldn't match. Through the tight corners of Monaco, the famous hairpin turn and the DOA winding section past the casino, the Phoenix demonstrated not just raw speed but exceptional handling. Its revolutionary power system delivered torque instantly to each wheel independently, allowing for cornering abilities that defied normal physics. By the fourth lap, the crowd was fully engaged. Even those who had come to watch merely out of curiosity were now standing, following the silver car with fascinated eyes as it flashed past. Technical experts from various teams were huddled together, discussing what they were witnessing with animated gestures. Greg Harrison's smirk had disappeared, replaced by a look of growing concern. "It's just a trick," he insisted to those around him. "Some kind of modified conventional engine, it can't be sustained." But even as he spoke, the Phoenix was proving him wrong. Not only was it maintaining its incredible performance, but the data screens in the technical area showed something astonishing. The car was using just a fraction of the energy that conventional supercars required to achieve the same speeds. "Final lap," Olivia said to herself as she crossed the start line again. "Time to show them everything." With a quick series of commands on the central console, she activated the Phoenix's full power mode, the feature they had never tested outside of computer simulations. Frank had warned her to be careful, but Olivia knew this was her one chance to make the racing world take notice. The Phoenix's response was beyond even Olivia's expectations. The car surged forward with such force that it seemed to bend reality around it. The hybrid system was now operating at maximum capacity, converting hydrogen fuel to electricity and delivering it to the advanced motors with an efficiency that had never been achieved before. Olivia guided the silver car through the track's famous corners at speeds that made the crowd gasp. The Phoenix's tires gripped the road with perfect traction, its aerodynamic design cutting through the air with minimal resistance. As she approached the final straight, Olivia pushed the Phoenix to its absolute limit. The speedometer climbed to numbers that put it in the company of the world's fastest vehicles. Yet unlike those gas-guzzling monsters, the Phoenix produced almost no emissions, just small amounts of pure water vapor from its hydrogen fuel cells. When Olivia finally crossed the finish line and gradually slowed the car to a stop, there was a moment of complete silence. Then the crowd erupted in applause and excited conversation. Engineers rushed forward trying to get a closer look at the vehicle that had just shattered their expectations. Richard Bennett approached as Olivia climbed out of the Phoenix, her heart still racing from the experience. "Ms. Grant," he said formally, though his eyes showed he was impressed. "Your demonstration was enlightening. The telemetry data shows performance figures that, frankly, I would have thought impossible, especially from a hydrogen-electric hybrid." "Thank you, Mr. Bennett," Olivia replied, trying to keep her voice steady despite her excitement. "The Phoenix represents years of research and innovation. I would like to invite you to participate in tomorrow's Innovation Challenge officially," Richard said. "What you've shown today deserves a wider audience." Before Olivia could respond, Greg Harrison pushed his way through the gathering crowd, his face flushed with anger. "This is ridiculous," he snapped. "She must have cheated somehow. No small company from Detroit could possibly create technology this advanced." "The data doesn't lie, Greg," Richard replied calmly. Ms. Grant's vehicle has demonstrated capabilities that deserve serious consideration. Greg turned to Olivia, his voice low and threatening. This isn't over. Nobody comes out of nowhere and makes fools of people like me. I didn't come out of nowhere, Olivia said, standing her ground, and I didn't set out to make a fool of anyone. I just wanted to show what's possible when you focus on innovation instead of tradition. As Greg stormed away, Peter Walsh approached with Laura Chen beside him. Spectacular, Peter said, genuine admiration in his voice. You've just changed the conversation about the future of automotive technology. Laura nodded in agreement. The Phoenix's performance exceeded anything I expected. How soon could this technology be adapted for racing applications? With the right partners and resources? Olivia considered. A year, maybe less. I think you're about to have plenty of potential partners, Peter said, gesturing to the crowd of industry representatives now gathered around the Phoenix, examining it from every angle. Sure enough, for the next hour, Olivia found herself surrounded by people who had ignored or dismissed her just days earlier. Technical directors from major racing teams asked detailed questions about the Phoenix's systems. Representatives from automotive manufacturers expressed interest in licensing the technology. Journalists requested interviews. As the crowd finally began to thin, Olivia took a moment to herself standing beside the Phoenix. She pulled out her phone and saw dozens of messages from her team back in Detroit, who had been watching a live stream of the demonstration. Frank's message stood out. You did it, boss. They're not laughing now. Olivia smiled as she typed her reply. We did it, all of us. Later that evening, at a reception following the day's events, Olivia found herself being approached by people who wanted to discuss business opportunities, technical collaborations, and even job offers. The room was filled with the same elite crowd that had mocked her at the first reception, but the atmosphere could not have been more different. Patricia Wells, who had laughed at Olivia's little hybrid project, now tried to act as if they were old friends, claiming she had always supported women in automotive innovation. Olivia responded politely but remembered who had stood by her when it mattered. As the evening wound down, Olivia stepped out onto a balcony overlooking the famous Monaco harbor. The lights of luxury yachts twinkled on the water, and the illuminated track wound through the city like a ribbon of light. Peter Walsh joined her, offering a glass of champagne. To the Phoenix, he said, raising his glass, and to the engineer who created it. To everyone who believed it was possible, Olivia corrected, touching her glass to his. Including you. What happens next? Peter asked. Olivia looked out at the beautiful view, thinking about the future that had suddenly opened up before her. Major manufacturing